So I know how much you guys enjoy it, but I already unplugged and replugged in the owls earlier. As much as I like to climb on the ladder in front of everybody. All right, we're good.
Okay. All right, it is 7:03 and we'll call this meeting of the Old Saybrook Board of Education to order. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome everyone this evening. And we will start with our audience of citizens. If there's anyone that would like to address the board today, this evening. I would like to. We'll just ask for it. So for audience of citizens, it's a 3-minute limit on any speaker or topic, 10 minutes in total. And then we just ask that you identify yourself with your name and address, and then that's basically it. You may not get a response from us directly tonight. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, my name is Denise Dobratz. I live at 20 Pepperidge Trail in Saybrook. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Denise Dobratz, and I don't know if you remember me, but I'm here again to address the ongoing issue of lack of a clear and equitable policy regarding cooperative sports at Old Saybrook High School. In August of 2022, our daughter Kendall was a freshman at Old Saybrook co-op team with Daniel Hand High School, and we were charged $2,200 annually for her to participate in the ice hockey. She played for Daniel Hand for 2 years. We questioned why our daughter had to pay while Old Saybrook High School football players in a co-op arrangement incurred no costs at all. This includes fees, transportation, and equipment. We discovered that tuition was also paid for 2 Old Saybrook High School boys that played ice hockey for a co-op with East Haven High School, further highlighting the inconsistency. After numerous meetings with former Superintendent Jan Peruccio, Board of Education President Trevor Nichols, and Athletic Director Brendan Saunders, Mr. Saunders made a presentation to the board promising earmarked funds and a new policy. This never materialized. Communication ceased and no policy was ever discussed or passed. We contacted First Selectman Carl Fortuna, who expressed confusion about the board's position and suggested discretionary funds could be used. He ultimately advised us to contact the Connecticut Human Rights Organization. We currently have pending litigation with the CHRO regarding our daughter's case based on Title IX issues. In July of 2024, my husband and I met with the new superintendent, Mr. Drezek, and he agreed he agreed on the need to address the situation. In September of 2024, Mr. Drezek indicated via email that the athletic policy meetings were occurring and asked for our patience. As of today, 4 months later, we were informed that no discussions regarding a new policy have taken place. Superintendent Drezek also shared with us that he cannot communicate with us any longer due to pending litigation. Here's our core problem. There's still no written policy regarding pay-to-play co-op sports for Old Saybrook High School. The current system applied is inconsistent, creating inequity and confusion. Some students pay while others in similar co-op arrangements do not. Despite repeated requests, we have not provided any documentation justifying the current practices, including the alleged 4-person minimum for co-op policy. This was shared with us as a reason why football players don't have to pay. There's been a great impact on our family. We have incurred significant costs due to pay-to-play system. Our children have been treated unfairly compared to other student athletes. And with the superintendent unable to communicate with us, we are wondering who will advocate for our son Keegan, who is now a sophomore at Old Saybrook High School. And he is now facing a similar $1,500 bill from the North Branford High School ice hockey team. This is not just about our family, it's a systemic issue affecting all Old Saybrook High School students participating in co-op sports. We'd like to request an immediate meeting with the Board of Ed to discuss this matter in detail. And we urge the board to prioritize the development and implementation of a comprehensive, transparent, and equitable policy for co-op sports. We want to partner with the board to find a solution that works for all student athletes at Old Saybrook High School. We're taxpayers who support Old Saybrook High School athletics. We simply want fairness and transparency for everyone. And we've been patient, but the goalposts have been kept moving on and on. We're asking for answers and actions. And then thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience of citizens that would like to address the board this evening? Anyone online? No. All right, thank you so much.
And we'll move on to reports from the Student Board of Education reps.
Alright, so the report for the month of February, starting with academics, there's the Major Works concert where the choirs will be performing Carmina Burana with the professional orchestra and with these 3 select choirs. There were all state music festival auditions on February 2nd and 3rd, and there was the Yukon Jazz Festival on the 7th. The pass system is discontinued at OSHS with the securely pass system, but the Flex software is still being run. And course selection opened up on the 6th, and administration has been very successful on the open house for parents for 8th graders that happened on the 28th. German 1 is now going to be a new course following the next school year. And the class of 2025 hosted the Pie in the Face fundraiser, where each student donates $1 to vote for a teacher to get pied in the face at the pep rally. And this time it was Miss Barnes. And Valentine carnations are being sold at lunch. There was going to be a winter band concert tomorrow night. And new bookshelves are being placed and installed in the library this week. Moving on to sports, girls basketball is 10-6. They lost to Griswold on the 30th of January, and they played Westbrook on the 1st. Boys basketball, they're 4-10, and they played Westbrook on the 31st. On the 4th of February, the girls and boys basketball both played Olan. Boys and girls track had a meet at Hill House High School the 7th against 3 other Class S teams, and lacrosse and tennis have upcoming meetings for their spring season.
Onto clubs, Quiz Bowl lost their meet on the 27th of January. Rambler is writing the February edition, which will be releasing next week. Drama Club is on to rehearsing 5 days a week. Tickets go on sale February 17th for performances March 6th through 8th. Our musical is Mean Girls this year. Health Club is doing class act at basketball games on the 4th, and where they'll be selling snacks to fundraise for their cause of choice for that game. Youth and Government held a bake sale at Swell on the 1st of January to fundraise for the conference, March 6th to 8th. And they also had a presentation from former state representative Christine Palm on the 12th. Crisis Text Line is doing another Wellness Day presentation with the middle school. And the Cancer Walk group is organizing leadership positions and committees, and they're looking to determine which 2 organizations they want to donate to at the event this year. The new club, ICPAA through Youth and Family, is centering around domestic violence and a combination of spreading awareness and taking action. This is a new club started by a student, and I believe that they will be partnering with a domestic violence and women's shelter in New Haven. GSA put up a new bulletin board featuring queer celebrity couples for Valentine's Day. DECA is preparing for the next conference, and Student Government is brainstorming a second field day to take place ahead of prom in May. Then onto our student opinions. Students don't feel that the snow and ice in the parking lot is taken enough care of, especially for students with spots on outer edges. The snow mounds up and blocks off parts of their spot, and the ice melts and refreezes, creating a very slippery, unsafe surface to walk on the blacktop. And students are very happy with the administration's decision to maintain the Flex software, but discontinue the use of the Pass software. That's all we have for you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Jack?
Question, so when you say the pass system is gone, is that the securely pass that had a little bit of consternation in the beginning of the school year that's gone?
Yeah, that's the one where they took out the physical passes for the online to go moving around.
So that online pass is gone, the one you guys didn't like, right?
Yeah, that was probably featured in probably 3 or 4 of our reports at the beginning of the year. People
Right.
were not a fan, but
that's-
the Flex software is like, they're like a partnership software thing, so it's like half of it's gone.
That's what I wanted to highlight. I hope you realized, you know, your voice played a major role in that decision. And I encourage you both to advocate both for yourselves and all of your peers and bring that information to us, because your voice really can make a difference. Another question on course selection actually came up at the PAC meeting this week.
Have you received any feedback from your peers, or do you have any feedback or recommendations on the process of course selection?
Well, in another one of our groups, Suprin, which, Mr. Dresnick and Mr. A kind of run, we've talked a lot about that process, I mean, the high schoolers who are exposed to peers who take different courses, they know the teachers, I feel like we have a very good understanding of what is available to us, but, we've talked a lot about issues that we find with eighth graders, whether when we were in eighth grade coming up to high school, or what people see in their siblings or their neighbors or their friends now. And how there's kind of gaps in how eighth graders maybe don't fully understand the courses that they're looking at when they select them, and then that can really affect them later on. Like, you only have 4 years and there's so many requirements alongside things that you would really like to take while you're here. So starting off correctly is really important. And so we've been brainstorming different ways that we can maybe get involved and change how information is presented so that they're a little bit more informed when they make their decision.
What you guys, one of the suggestions was we had, Mr. A, I'll speak for both of us. We actually asked for volunteers, super, of any of our members that would be willing to go to the middle school. And maybe have sort of a shadow day where they can talk to eighth graders about the process and start making some connections with kids that'll be in high school next year. And we received volunteers, said they'd be willing to do it. We just have to make the accommodations for it.
Yeah, I had the same question that you had regarding the flex passes and things like that, so we talked about it. I think it's probably it's clearer now in terms of you feel more comfortable and you don't have to be signing in, you actually still have a paper pass.
Yeah, we're starting to move back to the little paper passes with some teachers. They definitely liked it more, as we said before, it was pretty relevant in our reports that they just hated having to sign in and then wait for the teacher to approve it online, to go out, to come back, sign in, wait for them to approve it and all that. So,
It's cumbersome.
yeah,
Could you just tell me about the crisis text line? It's doing another wellness day, so is that something that the high school gets involved in, or?
So crisis text line, I believe it was started a couple of years ago from a student's capstone. And it's basically a group of students that kind of, it's like a chapter of a larger organization of like a mental health text line for just high school students. And so specifically at our school, the students, they meet to kind of talk about mental health issues and spreading awareness. So they have a couple of wellness days a year where they go and present about their knowledge to middle schoolers.
It's been well received.
I believe so. I mean, I think that they had just planned one at the beginning of the year, and I guess that went so well that they're deciding to do another one in the spring. So it's
So much
exciting.
last question down there. What's ICDAA? What does that stand for? The domestic.
I'm not exactly sure what the acronym stands for. I can get back to you on that, but it's a new club being started by a junior for her capstone, I believe. And it's being executed through Youth and Family, but it's for students at the high school, and it's going to be partnering with a domestic violence and women's shelter in New Haven to kind of just spread awareness and education about domestic violence so students can be aware. And it's also with partnering with that shelter, it's going to be kind of a mixture of taking action, like fundraising as much as they can in that issue.
So much.
Intimate partner conflict awareness and action.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see a lot of the
I
acronyms.
cheated.
I don't think I could have got one of
Acronyms were
those.
tough.
Karen. I just had to comment because I attended the concert last week, the Major Works concert Wednesday or Thursday night, whenever it was, and it was absolutely outstanding. Excuse me. And Dr. Milton had told the audience how complex and ambitious the music was, how difficult the choral selection was. It was very long, very lengthy, and the orchestra had the faculty involved, and all the choruses performed, and it was absolutely outstanding. So I know Sam was there, and I just had to kudos to everybody who participated. It was a very ambitious project and very well executed. So it was a great night. Very impressive for a small high school. So thank you. I enjoyed it. Well, the whole audience did, because it was a very long standing ovation. I
Yes.
got.
Thank you. We're very proud of how that went. I know Dr. Milton is very proud.
He should be.
All right, thank you all so much. All right, Karen, any first?
No, we have no correspondence.
Thank you so much. All right, so then next we'll move onto the consent agenda. Just as a reminder, that's everything that's listed in there. If there's anything that we'd like pulled out, there needs to be a motion to pull something out, and then we'll just need a motion to approve the consent.
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, so moved by Karen, seconded by Alan. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, and then we will move on to our German and French field trip.
Not gonna ask Joe to do this, I just, Manon's the brains behind the operation here, so you're welcome, Manon.
Evening, bonsoir. Some of you know me pretty well. I usually come here with another request. Usually it's feedback, but we're changing a little bit the direction. And I'm here to just really ask you, your permission to time and energy to look into this idea. This is something that has been on the radar for a number of years. When I first came to Old Saybrook 16 years ago, I was introduced to a team of teachers that went to Paris with French students. And actually, Mrs. Scherber was part of that field trip already. Twice. And I really just told you in the past, you know, I'm very, very lucky to have Amber as a colleague and partner crime for these travels that we've done to Quebec since I came 16 years ago. And now the idea is to bring French and German students to France and Germany. France and Germany, I feel very, very comfortable and home. I feel very sure and I feel very happy to be able to show those places, cultures that students feel the way of life and the languages in person if we were to go to France and Germany. So the PowerPoint presentation, I don't want to read it to you, but many things I have said to you before about our trips to Quebec. It is such a different, while talking to you, maybe, it is such a different way to experience what they learn in school when you actually go into the place or you are surrounded by it. You breathe it and eat it and live it literally. JB, you came with us to, did you come to Quebec last time? Yes, it's been so many times. I remember anymore. Yes, so Quebec, I mean, JB, if you want to talk about Quebec, you can jump in and say how that feels.
It was definitely a good experience to see how it is up there in the more north, I guess it is. And I really just compare like different cultures. I actually got to compare cultures on 3 different fronts with Simon. That was from was he from France?
He's Quebecois.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I got to experience as a Brazilian, I got to share culture, the differences with him.
He was
And-
our tour guide.
Yeah, and he was a very nice guy, and he did a very good job with the tour, and I think I can speak for the most when everybody really enjoyed the trip.
So the France and Germany trip, when I talked to this company, Exploica, I looked at a number of different companies and this one really, it's the one that I would like to go with because it gives us options of being receiving a higher quality of exploration, higher quality of where we are settled in hotels in comparison to where the center of the town is. Also, again, the quality of tour guides. And all of that still, of course, we always have to keep in mind the balance of the price, quality and price. So we ended up, I had talks with Dr. Fletcher and our superintendent as well, and they understood my final decision to go with Exploica. We can go to the So the connections are and everyone who takes French and German is invited. I often, sometimes it depends on the numbers too. But I have sometimes French students that say seniors who don't take French AP who ask me if they could still come on the trip. And usually, yes, especially when they're at that level, even if they're not in the course, we still let them join the group. I also always like to invite the current eighth graders, which would be then, the current eighth graders. So when they're freshmen, they can be part of the trip. But the high quality, I mean, of course, first of all, I think of high quality instruction. And I think that everything that our students learn at Old Sable Public Schools, no matter what content area, really feeds into the experience in another country, another culture. If it is science, if it is culinary, if it is philosophy, geography. So I think that there's no better place to apply what you learn than applying it in the situation. And the same supportive environment, I have no doubts that with us as a community, and then also the places that we would go visit and the company that we're in with hands. The 21st century skills, in word language, it's communication, right? So when we have students go to a little cafe or to a gift shop in Quebec, was the same thing. I always encourage students to please try to use their French. And in this case, French and German. And they really do. I mean, I think that nothing else they learn from me, that it's a sign of humanity to try your best, to be respectful of others' ways and traditions and cultures. And even if it's difficult, you try. Worst case scenario, you revert back to English, but you always try with other person's language first. So students really have done that, and they were amazed. I think, JB, you saw that happening too. They would come back to the bus with a little sandwich or croissant or something, and they're like, I ordered in French. I can't believe I knew what they were saying, because they're used to me for all these years, and they know how I function, and they know, even if they don't say it right, they will still, especially for the toilet, if let's say they're wrong, still let them go to the bathroom, so they're safe, right? But now they're in a country where someone might say, I don't understand what you're saying, say that again, so it's a good experience for them to have to try. This self-assess and understand that happens when they move around and on the trip. And I think it's always important, the social emotional awareness and health during this trip, and ever you are the best. Every time we go, there's certainly at least one situation where we need an adult hands on deck, so to say, to stay behind the table the student who doesn't feel well, or to go back from somewhere because they're too cold, or something that we take care of as if they were our own children. And I've seen that over and over every time we go. So this is just a little bit of data, like I say, most of you know by now. Now this trip is certainly a very, very different ballpark. As you can see, the cost per student is $4,747. The teacher student ratio in Quebec is 1:10, in Europe 1:6, that's with the company. And then there was a link to the itinerary, but I think that you said that didn't work, right? So
I was having problems with.
that's
the,
okay, and that's why I printed this. So we're gonna come to talk about price. Go to the next. I'm sorry. This, the price shows up in the chat. Okay. So, expanded word views, I've said all of these things I believe by now. Personal growth, confidence is a big piece. I think every child that came back from Quebec felt much more mature and ready for the world, right? Life skills, and so again, it's an extension of everything that they have been able to already have access to in Old Sable through the families and the schools. two challenges, the cost of the trip and then also cancellation insurance. So, I believe that the access to the cancellation insurance, side did work.
Yeah.
But then, Mrs. Sherber was very nice to do this. There is this, which I think you could not, open, and I'm sorry about that. So this is an idea of what we could do to help make the case a little easier. So that's a fundraising, what do you have? Yes. Fundraising overview. And I mean, now's the time because it says spring 2025. So and would you like to say something? Okay. So Amber has done fundraising for many, many years. Fundraising is something new to me, to be honest with you. So she knows about it and she's very sensitive to how much we can expect families and children to do. What kind of fundraising would bring money to everyone equally, or does it go by you know, what everyone can put in energy wise and what they can collect? Does it only go to their pot, so to say? So there are different ways, and the different ways means also that families and children can choose their own personal preference, how they want to do fundraising. So if you like, you can look through that for a little bit. There's also, I believe, the sooner the students sign up, I think it was March 27th, there's some sort of a little scholarship that the company is willing to give to bring down the price as well. Do you have a question?
Yeah, is there a minimum that we have to have?
Yes, so sure, it has to be the same. I personally, I think as a good number would be 25 students, and I'm just saying that because 25 students would make me feel like students have that experience of a student travel, really, not as like 5 children go with 1 adult, plus you know, it's better to have more adults anyway. And so 46 was it always for Quebec. I understand that probably we cannot get that many. I would love to, but 25 would for me be a wonderful minimum. But again, I'm open to more. For this plan, I believe if you went back into the I think it's in the bigger package where they talk about this price is based on I think it was 15 or 16 students that they could offer us this price specifically. So the more students we have, then also the price can go down.
And in terms of how it compares with the price when we were going to Quebec, you could get so many.
Yeah.
Is it?
So last time we went to Quebec, it was $900.
Yeah, okay.
And that went up over the years. I remember we started at like $600 in 2009. So in a way, if you think $900, 2 overnights, 3 days to Quebec, and then this 6 days to Europe, it makes sense, even though it's painful to look at the number, but it's fair.
Yeah, the reason I asked is more just trying to get an idea of, you know, how many parents, how many families were able to support at that level versus how many families are going to be able to support at a much higher level. I mean, I think this, you know, it's a fantastic thing. I just, you know, an overseas trip is,
Yeah.
I love seeing these kinds of things come through the board.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and you know, even if we had the permission to go on, my next step would be to have the parent meeting. And my next step would be to have a form go out to students and families and see how many are interested. If we can't have enough interest in the prices, even more than that, or it hinges on the fact that it needs to be less than that with more students, then we need to make a decision based on that piece of information. I just didn't want to go ahead and advertise it when I didn't have your permission yet.
Sure.
Check.
Question, is this trip open to students that aren't enrolled in French or German class?
So it's a good question. As you know, I'm the only French and German teacher, or you might not know, but I'm the only French and German teacher at the high school. I have seen, well, we all have seen the declining numbers of students in Old Saybrook. And I unfortunately have also seen declining numbers of students in world languages. And so for me, to do this trip specifically for French and German students is a way to bring them somewhere where they can easily be exposed to French and German, which besides Quebec, they cannot really do in North America. So to me, that was always a little bit of an, how should I say, I don't want to call it inequity, but it was just more difficult for me to make a case for learning other languages. And that's why I wanted to focus on French and German. And I always feel that the more trips we have, I think the better. I think, yes, there should also be a Spain trip. There should be a, no, what else we can think of. There's a history trip, for example, to Europe. My kids used to go to Old Lyme, and I think they had a history trip actually to Europe. So it's not just language specific, but content specific, where you would travel to really push for what you've been teaching. And so because I teach French and German, I thought I invite only French and German students. But that doesn't mean that I'm not, you know, it's not, I don't want it to look like I'm against inviting other students, but I want to see first who can I grab who learns with us in that content area.
Follow-up question. Are you aware of any other international trips being discussed for 26 or maybe 27?
No, I mean, am I aware? There are always ideas floating out there. And I don't really listen too much to rumors or teacher lounge talk, because I believe that you need to do the steps you need to do in order to be aligned. So for me, it's such a natural thing to do these trips because of Quebec, and my natural thought for at least a year was to do a Europe trip. Actually, we had the trip planned, I don't know if you remember this. We had a trip planned, the Spanish teacher Munoz and I, to Spain and France. Do you remember that? And then COVID hit, and then we were canceled out. And then, you know, I waited a couple of years with Quebec, and then I started slowly last year with Quebec, and now I feel, okay, we're past this, you know. So really, honestly, all I did was go ahead with my plan, go through the right channels, ask the right people, and prepare myself. But otherwise, in my department, I'm the instructional leader for world languages. And yes, I have heard teachers talk about how they would like to also do a Spain trip. Middle school teachers have talked about, our high school teacher has talked about it, Spanish teacher. But I don't know at what point either they brought it further or where it got not continued, where it got discontinued. I don't know if that's the right language. But, so no, I'm not sure at what point anyone is with that.
Thank you.
When's the next Washington DC trip? Do we have, is there a date?
March.
This March, okay. And, you know, throwing something out there, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but, you know, this is really exciting. I'm just wondering if there's others, you know, Westbrook, Old Lyme, you know, if we needed numbers, is that anything that we could remotely talk about,
I
or?
think that's great. Open to that. Very
I mean,
good idea.
I don't want to start anything
Yeah.
complicated, but.
I mean, I'd be happy to that.
And years ago, it's been done. Years ago, it was done with Valley. There were trips to Spain, and sometimes France. So if there's only a small number of students that made it possible to coordinate with a couple other districts.
Yeah, and I did do a trip to New Haven, that sounds. With the Lyme Online French AP students before COVID. And
okay.
we went to the Museum of Art, we looked at French art, we had a student from Yale who did the tour in French. And then we went to Unity Cafe for French lunch.
Oh.
And I don't know, 5 or 6 AP students at that time. And so, and all done at only 5 or 6, so we pulled together, and yes, I think that's great.
I can ask them all for 3 tomorrow morning.
Oh, geez. No.
I gotcha.
Oh, and then the cancellation insurance. So this company, Ex-Boyka, has 2 insurance plans. And the one that is included in the $4,747 is called Travel Protection Plan Plus. So if you look on that file in the folder, in the virtual folder, it's $379 included in that price. Now, the Explorer card cannot force parents to buy that insurance. Parents can say, oh, I'm, forfeiting this. And I'm not sure schools can make parents do that either, probably not. But we highly recommend, and we want to make sure that parents know that information, that's just a peace of mind to also buy that insurance. That type of insurance is a, no question asked kind of cancel policy, whatever that expression, no question asked, or cancel for any reason. Cancel for any reason policy, and that is up to 48 hours before the departure. So the woman at the insurance company, she made a funny kind of situation. Let's say there's a couple, 2 kids, they break up. And now one of them doesn't want to go anymore because they want to see the other person, and they can cancel. No one's going to ask why. Doesn't have to be like an illness or something. You can cancel. So, then I said, I don't think they liked my question. I said, well, what happens if the morning of someone is finally ill? And then she said that company TripMate, that it would be up to their discretion. And that they usually tend to do the right thing. That's all I could get out. I mean, there's a doctor's note and they just can't travel. I would think that they would.
Well, I would like to put a motion on the table, to approve the German-French field trip request as presented.
Seconded by Lee, further discussion. Yeah,
Fabulous presentation. Thank you
very
for your
exciting.
research. In dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and look forward to hearing that you'll get a wonderful response and great suggestions around the table.
Yes, very good questions, yes. Thank you for your trust and support also always. Thank you.
Just want to check in with Karina and Steve to make sure if they have any questions or.
I don't have any
Okay.
questions. Thank you. I think it was a nice presentation.
Thanks, Karina. Agreed. Thank you, Madame Safam and Mrs. Sherber as
We have to
well.
vote.
No, we will.
Okay.
My own comments. For your willingness to take our students and provide this opportunity. This doesn't happen unless there's somebody that's willing to take them and afford them this opportunity. So we really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I will put in my plug as well, that in the spirit of equity, I know I ask this question every single time, but for creating, and this is not for you necessarily, but just so that if there is an opportunity to create a similar type of environment for kids that are taking Spanish in our school districts as well. Because these trips are amazing, right? And we've had the Quebec trip going on for so long and but we haven't really yet figured out a way to afford the same type of opportunity for students that are taking Spanish. And I know there's a lot of stuff that goes into this and planning and everything, but.
Yeah, and I have always suggested my support to the other language teachers. But I haven't heard more than they would like to. So.
I know you can't do all of them.
I'm gonna know.
I appreciate that.
But I will make sure that somehow it will be, that it stays in our heart, the language department, and we keep having these opportunities for students, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we will have to vote on the motion. So the question's up. So all in favor? Aye. Looks like Karina's hands is up as well. I don't know, Steve, if you're on or not. You might be on hold because he's on call. Okay. Any opposed? None. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much. All right. We will move on to the academic calendar 25-26.
Thank you. So the calendar committee has spent, I think it's understated, a significant amount of time working on the 25-26 school calendar. Within your memo, we've outlined some of the things that were under consideration. We also sent that to staff. As the board knows, we did get some members of the community who could approach the board about a consideration for additional religious holidays. And although they didn't make them into the finished product, want to make sure that the people who may be watching or tuning in and wanting to know why, that it certainly didn't go unnoticed or untried. There was a significant amount of time and effort into trying to make that accommodation for those who had requested it. Unfortunately, what doesn't change is we have to make 180 days in a specific period of time. And minus starting the year earlier where we ran into some complications or getting, the conclusion of the school year later in the calendar year, running up with some potential issues, particularly with weather. It wasn't for a lack of trying, it just logistically, unfortunately, didn't work out during this go around. So the calendar that you have in front of you does not include 2 days off of school for Jewish holiday observations. But one thing that was discussed throughout the committee was sort of an addendum to significant dates, cultural events and cultural dates that we should essentially do a better job as a district, either through our Equity and Action Committee or even the administration or even all of us, of making sure that we're not scheduling events on particular days, making sure we're doing a better job educating all of our community on different significant events that happen throughout the year that we may not be familiar with. So it doesn't necessarily have to be embedded in our calendar, but it should be something that we practice. That said, the calendar in front of you for consideration was endorsed by the calendar committee to make it to you. It would start with the first day of school on August 28th. And right now, a tentative last day of school is June 15th, 2026.
Any questions? Eileen?
No, I just wanted to thank the calendar committee for spending the time that they took to come to this decision. And it wasn't a light decision to come to, but I think that it really, there's a silver lining in terms of taking a look at a cross section of holidays that are celebrated in the district. So that's hopefully something that can be shared with teachers and an opportunity, to know how we're going to implement that. That's the challenge.
So I have a question regarding the calendar committee's decision not to close schools in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. At any point in the conversation, was there any consideration about the value of the positive message of inclusion that would be sent to all members of our community, including students, at a time when Donald Trump is gutting all DEI programs across our country?
What I can share is that the committee was presented several drafts of different calendars with different days on them. And ultimately what it came down to was not necessarily not wanting to recognize different cultural events throughout the year. Again, the logistics of trying to fit the 180 days within the block that they were permitted to do. There was some pretty robust conversations about making sure we were more inclusive in our calendar, and that's why you don't see all particular calendar days just jammed in the corner anymore. It's actually a second document. And that furthered some conversations internally, not just with our Equity and Action Committee, but even amongst our district leadership team, of making sure we do a better job of informing the community about significant dates that we may not all be familiar with, but that it will have an impact on our students or other members of the community. So I think it was a good launching point for us to do a better job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I will say, Jack, there were quite a number of stories shared by some of the teachers on the committee, reminding us, or not reminding us, but explaining how different individuals had let them know about a specific thing with their families and appreciating a little bit of leniency on a couple of things in terms of classwork or when things were scheduled. So I think teachers are becoming much more open to understanding everybody's got different kind of things in their family lives and being very open to that. And I think that's just the culture we need to make sure that we're embracing, in the school with staff and teachers. Just kind of in general, and making sure we don't make mistakes about scheduling things on days, that like we wouldn't want to schedule the Washington trip over, a holiday or something like that.
It's a question that doesn't pertain to this particular calendar, but I noticed that on Columbus Day, it's now / Indigenous Peoples Day. Is that something that we haven't had that before, but I think it's an important distinction.
That was a recommendation that came to the committee, about just whether naming it, continuing with the name, just so the board's aware. Columbus Day is the holiday that's recognized in your collective bargaining agreements, so you have to keep that. So the committee came to the realization that we could make it / Indigenous Peoples' Day as the company.
So that's something that the staff would be able to educate students in terms of why it's, has that slash and just giving it, some education behind it.
If no further discussion, just want to pause again for Karina or see if there's anything online. Okay, I know sometimes it's hard to time in when you're participating remotely, so I want to make sure we're giving the opportunity.
Thank you, I'm fine.
Okay, all right, so then we will need a motion to adopt the plan. Moved by Alan, seconded by Karen. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Voted for John. All right, thank you, the motion carries. All right, then we are going to be moving into executive session, so we'll need a. Oh, sorry, graduation date. I'm checking it off. I'm sorry. 2025 graduation date.
So according to state law, board has the right to set a graduation. And as long as it doesn't precede the 180th day in order to the school calendar that's already been adopted. So my recommendation to the board, particularly for planning purposes, is that we'd recommend that graduation for this school year be on June 16th, which falls on a Monday. I know there was a lot of conversation about Mondays, but that would be our 180th day right now. That would be the day. Obviously, this is not real wood, but weather permitting. But in the event there is, extenuating circumstances that we would go beyond that day, there is provisions that date is set that seniors who are graduating would be excused. So you would be covered legally to not have to make the 180 days.
So Chris, middle school also has a moving up day, is it at the
Yes.
same time or same day?
That would be the same day.
On Monday,
You'd be
right?
planning all that the same day. In the event there's some crazy weather that has this, we still have 2 more days built in the calendar, so hopefully we don't need them. Full disclosure, we thought today was gonna be a weather day as of Friday, so we're gonna hope that we're done. But that would be the intention, is that the last day of school, graduation and the moving up ceremonies would all be on that Mondays.
I just have a question. If we have, let's pretend tomorrow's a snow day. When would that day be made up?
So this is my first experience with built-in snowflake days, as they've been referred to me. So we have 2 remaining. There's 3 in the
There's
current
3,
calendar,
okay.
in the current calendar. I made the decision for the last snow day last week to utilize the date in March. And I did that because the first calendar snow day is actually next Wednesday, which abuts against a short February break for students and for staff. Understanding that when the calendar comes out, families make plans, just particularly in February, because there's not traditional breaks, that would be a hardship for many, including, and to be quite honest, as you can hear my voice and poor JV over here coughing, if we could create a bigger break in February to clear all this guck out, it's always beneficial. So I utilized the March date on last week's snow day. In the event we have a snow day between now and next Wednesday, I would utilize the May date and try to protect the February 19th day off of next week to extend that break. If we have more than one between now and next week, then we have to. And if we have to go more, you have to tack it on, but we're not gonna talk.
Well,
I just want to say thank you for your flexibility with that, the way that you kind of moved those snowflake days around. It was valuable, and that was the intent a long time ago. Part of the intent of February vacation was to have that week for virus bacteria to die out, because things are so viral from November through February. So in addition, it helps that, because as we know, a lot of communities have had a lot of viral issues as well, teachers, students.
Sorry,
Employees.
I can't stop coughing either, so it's just, it's everything.
I appreciate the flexibility and creativity.
All right, so. Then we'll need a motion to adopt the graduation date? Yes. Moved by Eileen, seconded by Alan. Any further discussion or questions? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, motion carries. Now we will to executive session, inviting in, we'll need a motion, right? Yeah, yours. By Karen. Need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Let's take, I'm sorry, on the motion, we'll vote, we'll move into executive session a little bit slower tonight. All in favor? Aye. All right, let's take a 5-minute break just for logistics, so we can close and clear and all of the things. That's a great question.
I think so.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so Karina and Steve, we may have to shut down Zoom for the executive session portion.
Typically what we've done in the past is we redial in. Is Trent there?
Yeah, I am here. That's definitely what we did during COVID. I logistically am not set up to do that. I can get set up to do it. And I'd send you guys a different meeting link to like a Google Meet or something. If that's what the board wants to do. That's our policy post-COVID does not specifically allow or disallow electronic participation during executive session. So it's a gray area. It's up to you guys to.
The more the merrier, I mean, as much as we can get
Nobody just.
voices involved.
So the challenge is the more, I understand where you're coming from, Jack, the challenge is the openness of whatever the environment is on the other end of the Zoom line,
That's exactly right.
right? Yeah.
That IT stuff's out of my wheelhouse.
I mean, I can tell you guys logistically, it's not possible to set up. It won't be ideal, but it's doable.
They call in, that's more private.
Either.
I'm happy to exit. I'm happy to call it a night. That's fine.
Thank you, Karina. Okay, so we'll shut down and then we'll open back up when we resume to adjourn.
Okay.
Thanks, Karina and
Is
Steve.
Steve on there?
Makeup and hair real
Wait a
quick.
minute.
All right, we're up.
Oh,
Okay, perfect. So it is 8:44 and we are coming out of executive session, returning to open session for the purpose of discussing potential actions of the executive session. So for that, I'll leave it to Karen to make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to upgrade the administrative assistant. I'm sorry, a motion to approve the secretary's union request to upgrade the 12-month secretarial position at Kathleen E. Goodwin to an administrative assistant position effective as of the next payroll cycle.
Seconded by Jane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
We hope you're at your end of your meeting.
Thank you.
You guys.
Okay, so with that, we have our reminders on the agenda and we'll just need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alan, need a second,
Second.
second by Jack, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Nobody ever seen that.
So
Just-
much. All right, thanks so much.
Maybe somebody is in a
Thank
lot
you,
of
guys.
trouble when they get